Welcome back, everybody. This is an exciting video for me personally because marriage is the name of the game. Marriage is where all of the best things and the most challenging things will ever happen to you as a human being. And because of that, so many people want it, but they're afraid of it. And if you have found yourself in a marriage that isn't quite thriving, then I've got 5 tips for you. And these 5 tips have helped me get through 10 years of marriage. We've had 3 kids, we've traveled the world, we've had some really deep lows and some really high highs, and we've also had some really blah middle, like just kind of beep, just sustaining life. At some point, my wife and I decided, no, we want to thrive, we want to have a thriving marriage. So if you want to learn how to have a zippy, zesty, spicy marriage for years to come, that only gets better like fine wine over time, then let's get into this video. Welcome back to Whole Goals. My name is Andrew Love, and it is my job as the founder to help you reclaim your mind, heart, body, and soul so that you can become an unstoppable force of good in this world. And my heart especially always goes out to fathers, to husbands. I'm with you. I understand you. I love you. The reason is this world is set up to absolutely make marriage the most difficult thing in the world. And it's not supposed to be as difficult as it is. We don't get support. We don't live with our families. In the old days, people lived with their tribe. They lived with their people. And that's how you sustain life. You'd always have a grandma on hand to watch your kids so you could go kiss your wife or whatever people did thousands of years ago. But nowadays, most people are just kind of fighting on their own. They're just trying to make it and it doesn't work. So I have a giant heart for all of you who are trying to make it work. So of course there's like a billion things that I can give, but I wanted to give you the top 5 tips that I could think of that really helped me and that I'm sure will help you in your marriage to experience more intimacy with your spouse, to experience more thriving, like that sense of wonderment. Like when you're falling in love in the beginning, a lot of it's just chemicals, it's just neurochemicals flowing and you feel mushy gushy and then that seems to go away. But how do you regenerate those lovey-dovey feelings? You can, but it requires some effort. And so these tips are there to help stir the soil so that you can have a fresh garden of love. You like that metaphor? You can have it. If you don't like it, it's not my fault. It was inspiration. So tip number 1 is really, really important, and that is you need to consciously and intentionally decide where your sexual energy goes. You see, so many people lose their power because they spread their sexual energy. They're watching porn, they're spending time masturbating, thinking about other people other than their spouse. They're scattering their essence, their power, their vitality across, and then they wonder why they have nothing left to give to their wife. Like that real powerful love, that force that creates worlds can work through you when you focus that energy. And without that focus, you scatter your energy and you start to wonder, oh, what about this person? What about this person? But nothing feels good because it's unfocused. Just like if you are not focused in your career, you start looking at this opportunity, and you feel really insecure, I'm not good enough, blah, blah, blah. You start chasing money, but you don't really know how you fit in and how you can add value. When you focus yourself, you are able to do whatever you want. So in terms of your sexuality, if you want an amazing, thriving sex life with your wife, not just in the beginning of your marriage, but late into your marriage, even into old age. I know so many old people, older, don't want to offend anybody, older, vintage people, antique people who are having some banging sex because they give all of their sexuality to each other. And that is something that can grow and develop dividends over time. Second point is to be intentional about the story you're telling about your wife. This is for husbands, obviously. When we are in a relationship with somebody, we get into a lot of default modes. The way that we act, the way that we talk, the type of jokes that we tell, it all goes into autopilot at some point, which is very dangerous because that's not how you were in the beginning. You were very intentional about how you smelt, how you looked, how you presented yourself. And if you want to maintain any type of freshness, then you got to stay intentional. And when you think about your wife, a lot of times you will say, oh, she's like this and like this. And what you're doing is you're just telling a story. This is not the objective truth. This is completely your subjective viewpoint based off of your interpretation of this person. So if you want to fall in love with this person and stay fresh, then tell good stories about that person. All the things that they do great. And if they have hurt you, then you can write in this story, that time that they hurt me, they didn't know what they were doing, but I overcame that, and we both have overcome this issue. And it's just this little blip on the radar. In all good stories, there's the dangerous monster that you have to overcome, and it's just like part of the tale. Not everything is as perfect as scent. But you can allow somebody to make mistakes if you tell the story right. But a lot of times in our head, we're telling stories that, oh, they never do this, they always do this, and we're just writing this story. And the more that we hardwire that story by telling it repeatedly in our minds, the more we project that to them, and in many ways, they will live up to your expectations, for better or for worse. So if you're writing a happy tale of this person is so beautiful to me, they will become more beautiful to you. If you say that they're getting old, then you'll be looking for evidence that they're getting old, or whatever the case may be. So number 2, again, recap, is tell a very intentional story about your spouse and make sure that it's congruent with you loving them for a long time. Find out where your narrative is very negative and edit that part of the story so that it's true to the person that you want to be, not to the reactive self that you are a lot of the time. The next thing is this. Number 3 is that your relationship is 100% unique, because there's never been a you and there's never been your spouse ever before in all of history. So what you're creating is entirely unique. So to compare your relationship to any other relationship is unfair, because they're not the same, because they're different people, okay? It's not like you have to be blind to the rest of the world, but you can take best practices from here or there, but never compare. You can learn from other people's mistakes, but don't compare. It's not fair. It doesn't work. As much as you can, never compare your spouse to somebody else's spouse, and never suggest that they should be like somebody else, because that's literally impossible. It's physically impossible. It's mentally, spiritually impossible. They are 100% unique. Remember that. Number 4 is have bad days. If you're only ever having perfect days, it means that you're not growing. You should always be bumping into your limitations as individuals together, and also as a couple, getting into weird confrontations with other couples, whatever. This is very natural and very healthy. So have bad days, but with a caveat, be able to laugh at them in hindsight. I typically, if I have an outburst with my wife and I have a little snit and I say, you don't treat me right, blah, 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 we both laugh at that performance the next day. We're like, what was that about? And then we both laugh. See, the thing is, the ego is unable to laugh at itself. The ego wants to be taken seriously. It wants to be the center of attention, and we all have that in us. But the moment you're able to laugh at yourself and laugh at circumstances that you've been involved in, it takes away power from the ego, and you can rise above to your natural state. Have bad days and laugh. Have bad days and laugh. It's the best way to grow. So number 5 is share a spirituality. This is really important, and that can take many different forms. It could be, some people really need to get out into nature together and just breathe slowly. I would recommend praying together or meditating together, at least finding some commonality that is beyond the physical and emotional states that we are normally beholden to. You get up, you feel a certain way, you eat food, you go through your day. It's very one-dimensional. In order to experience the fullness of life, you need to connect to something beyond just you and your spouse. That's where spirituality comes in. And not only that, when you're stuck, when you've reached a plateau in your relationship, if you have nothing beyond just yourself, then you're basically going to remain stuck indefinitely. But if you have something that's bigger than your relationship, even though you might be fighting, it's not that bad in comparison to the bigness of what you're striving for. So to have spirituality is to connect to the vastness and the minutia of reality itself, so that you can appreciate and have gratitude for all the little things in your life, but that you can also feel connected to the vastness of the universe and all this stuff that without an appreciation for it, you're just like, oh, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough stuff. But when you're connected spiritually to meaning, to something truly wonderful, it allows you just to be happy for what you have, including each other. So if you're bickering and fighting all the time, it's so good to just pray together and to remind yourself why you got into this relationship and where you'd like to go, and to understand that all difficulties can be overcome. But it's hard to do with your own mind and your own heart. It's so much easier to do when you have cosmic support. So those are the 5 tips. I really hope they were helpful. They've been super helpful for me. Please let me know in the comments. Do you use any of these 5 tips already? Are you going to implement any of these in your life? Please let me know. I'm very happy to hear when you guys test things out. It's been a slice. Thank you so much for watching this far. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.